It's astounding the amount of people that switch from console to PC in the past year. Some of these people are content still using a controller on PC, but that limits what games you can play and the functionality. Others are scared to make the jump from controller to keyboard and mouse, um, muscle memory, and everything else. What if they could combine the ease of a controller with the versatility of a keyboard? Well, Azeron may have figured it out. Stay tuned. Let's go ahead and take a look at this now. I have it fully adjusted to fit my hand. It took a couple days to actually get it in the position where it felt right and I wasn't hitting buttons by mistake. Top view. The little paddle by the joystick you want to move around so you don't actually hit it when you pull your thumb off the joystick. Very customizable. Every finger indexes in and out and left to right, as you can see from all these screws. Multiple adjustment points. There's all these little anti-slip pads on there, which prevent it from slipping around on your desktop. The Azeron Keypad is like the Razer or Weaver, but on steroids. It has 20 customizable buttons, one 5-way hat switch, and one joystick for WASD. And since it's 3D printed, you can customize it to your own personality. In the drop-down menu, you're going to pick which version you're going to get. It all depends on what you prefer. They got the left hand and the right hand version, and then the hand rest can either be curved or flat. And I'm showing you the difference here now. I picked the curved one, a little bit more ergonomic. So then comes the keys. You could make the keys any color you want if you want different patterns. You can just click each key individually down the rows you want or in whatever pattern you like, or if you want you can actually just hover over several and it'll grab groups of them. And see the different colors, it renders it pretty nice so you get a nice sense of what you're going to be getting. But you do have to remember, depending on how many colors you use, they charge you. So I'm going to knock this down back to 2 colors. You can see the price grid here. And here's your price of what you're going to be paying as it all adds up. But like I said, everything's 3D customizable. You change the colors with almost everything on here. Little flip pads make those green. Just because we need a little green pretty trees around, you know. Just playing around here, just playing with some colors to show you guys how it kind of works. Some of the things are only several colors. You can't get the top plate or the metal plate in every color, unfortunately. But just like this, it's tiered in prices depending on how many colors you use. It's like that in every drop down here. So it can get quite expensive if you want. This, they don't charge you any extra depending on the colors. You can use up to 6 or 7 colors on this, and it's the same price, it looks like. So with the customized nameplate, remember you can only do 6 to 8 characters. If you have a name longer than that, try to abbreviate it down, but their maximum is 8 characters. And you cannot see it until you get the keypad in the mail. They do not render it in this render, unfortunately. And just to get you guys a bit familiar with the software, do a quick rundown. There's a dark theme and a light theme. I think that the dark theme is a lot easier on the eyes. For all you left-handed people, you could turn this on. They also have WASD support. That came out in a recent update. I'm not too familiar with it at the moment. I'd have to check in a bit more on that to give any advice. Advanced options, it's for like macros and stuff. Then hide custom labels and then show other labels. There's profiles that you can import and export. If one of your friends gets the Azeron, you can send him your profiles for whatever games or vice versa. Make sure you update your firmware to get the latest and greatest drivers. And then the LEDs. I have my LEDs set all the way low because at night it's quite bright and blinding. There's button throttling. I'm not too familiar with that because I don't really use it. But if you are, there you go. Make sure that you calibrate your joystick. By doing this, it's going to adjust your dead zone as close as possible. You're still going to manually have to do it a little bit later. but this gets you pretty close, so it takes most of the guesswork out of it. So let's move on over to the profiles now. There's 2 onboard memory profiles that get saved to the Azeron. So you can take this wherever you want, and it has at least 2 profiles. I always keep my profiles also saved in the backup for the software, just in case I adjust anything on accident. I can go back here to Far Cry or Apex here and switch it back to the OBD1, which is onboard memory, and then OBM2, which is onboard memory 2. You could have as many profiles on the software as you like, but you must use the software to toggle back and forth. I'll show you how to configure a profile now. When you add one, you have to remember it just duplicates the previous one. This kind of helps if there's some common buttons that are going to be configured. Start by taking a look at the joystick. You open it up, the first thing you'll notice there's 5 different modes. The first mode would be Xbox 360 analog stick, which functions just like the analog stick on your 360 controller. And then next is a basic analog stick, kind of speaks for itself. And then we have keyboard mode. I think that's a bit more limiting, as you could only use WASD for that, and you might lose something if you're playing first-person shooter games and you want to move on an angle. And apparently Fortnite has its own setting in here, which I've never used, but if you play Fortnite, check it out, I guess. And last but not least, definitely one of my favorites, Xbox 360 analog stick and keyboard. The reason I prefer this mode is because it's more versatile dependent upon the game. My go-tos are this mode and Xbox 360 analog stick mode. One of the first settings you'll see is angle. This is very beneficial because depending on the size of your hand, you have to set the 0 positive or negative. With this, I did initial guess and then fine-tuned it in-game. The second setting you see here is lower and upper dead zones. This is all by preference. If you're used to mouse and keyboard, you're going to be adjusting this a lot more. And the final slide bar is sensitivity. The lower the number, the more sensitive it is. Now, something you might notice in this mode, you can adjust the input of the right and left analog sticks as seen. You can see when I switch the modes that the bottom disappears and it's only the 3 slider bars up top. And switches it right back. Okay, let me close this out, find a key that's not bound to anything. And once I open this up, you can see that I can combine keyboards or controller without the triggers, controller triggers only, mouse, joystick buttons, joystick D-pad buttons. And I got toggle right left on the joystick, macros, layering, and then toggle right left joystick while held down, and then no action. I'll show you a basic keyboard binding. So up here I'm just going to title it run, and then down the buttons you just highlight and then push whatever button you want in there, or sequence of buttons depending on what you're trying to configure. Now we move on to macros. I'm not too familiar, but it looks like you could do buttons, mouse clicks, and delays. Depending on what you want to click and how many clicks, you kind of set this up. That concludes the tour of the app interface. If you guys got any more questions, feel free to reach out. And then let's jump in a little bit of gameplay and just see how functional it is. One of the first things I want to mention, it's going to be easier to get muscle memory on this thing if you're used to using a controller. If you've been using mouse and keyboard for the past couple years, it's a bit more of a learning curve for you, as you already have muscle memory built into those fingers. For me, it seemed like maneuvering was much easier using the keypad than using a traditional keyboard, as you can see here. Let's jump into Far Cry here and see how she goes. This gamepad is directed more to people for specific game types. I play a lot of FPS where I need to be precise and quick with the keys. So if you're more into MMOs, this gamepad might not be for you, or it might. I'll let you make that decision. After using this gamepad for 30 days, I believe it was the right purchase for me. It's specific enough for my gameplay style, and not too hard to learn. It took a couple weeks for me to actually get the understanding of how to program it and get my muscle memory to the point where I wasn't mishitting keys. But after that, I really enjoyed using this in games. If you find yourself playing a lot of first-person shooter games and been thinking about switching to mouse and keyboard but been reluctant because of the keyboard part, check out the Azeron Gamepad. I highly recommend it.